Lu Fan pondered briefly and immediately understood. If all the map fragments could be collected, they would get the tyrant's retreat route. And since the tyrant died during his retreat, following the retreat route would roughly tell them where to find the lost treasure required by the mission. As for the map fragments, they needed to collect them by hunting down the monsters here, so everyone needed to properly explore this whole place. After understanding the method to clear the dungeon instance, the impatient Tao Shaman wanted to set out, choosing a random direction to advance and grind monsters. However, Lu Fan stopped her and advised, "Don't rush. I think we can't be that reckless here. Look around you. It's all desert, seemingly empty and unnaturally quiet. The more it's like this, the more careful we need to be." Kao saying this, Lu Fan pointed out the issues he noticed in the dungeon instance's description. Thus, he had to remind everyone here. Everyone agreed with Lu Fan's speculation, feeling that though this desert looked quiet, it definitely harbored many hidden dangers. Be it monsters that might be lurking under the sand or the so-called quicksand vortex. For this type of map, the optimal solution would definitely be to explore using sky mounts. But among everyone, only Lu Fan had pet dragons. The rest did not have the ability to fly. However, this was not a difficult thing for Lu Fan. He directly had Xiao Kui summon the 2 fallen corpse holy dragon kings and had them open their puppet sub-space to summon 10 demonic bloodthirsty bats. Demonic bloodthirsty bats were the weakest existences among the 9 hell demons' army. Lu Fan had tens of thousands of these monsters. They were the perfect cannon fodder. Lu Fan one-on-one, let these things scout ahead. We'll follow from behind. This way, if there are any dangers, they'll trigger it for us. Now originally, everyone was surprised at how Lu Fan's flying dragon kings had changed to this appearance. Now, seeing Lu Fan having the flying dragon kings summon some unknown monsters, everyone was even more astonished. Lu Fan, your flying dragon kings, how is it that they can summon monsters? Han Kei could not close her mouth, feeling that she could comprehend Lu Fan less than before. Lu Fan smiled and said, "My flying dragon kings have evolved twice in the extremely far north ice plains and in the National Trial Secret Realm. Now, they are called Fallen Corpse Holy Dragon Kings. They are also now Quasi-Dragon Kings, so their appearance is somewhat different from before." Quasi-Dragon Kings! Isn't that about the same as Xiao Ye and the others? All 4 women were shocked at the same time. Calculating this way, did this not mean Lu Fan had 6 Dragon Kings as pets? Lu Fan thought for a moment and said, in terms of attributes and combat power, they still have some gap compared to proper Dragon Kings like Xiao Ye and the others. Even so, they have a special trait that's very useful. Speaking thus far, Lu Fan snapped his fingers, and the fallen corpse holy dragon kings immediately understood. They let out their purple gas, which spread out to envelop the remains of a tyrant's attendant on the ground. Soon, under everyone's surprised gaze, this tyrant's attendant actually reassembled its body and stood up. Seeing the tyrant's attendant stand again, Bao Bao immediately became energetic. His wings crackled with the clear intention of blowing up this monster again. Fortunately, Lu Fan had anticipated that he would get too excited upon seeing a killable monster, so he restrained him. After restraining Bao Bao, Lu Fan explained to everyone, "This is one of the fallen corpse holy dragon king's skills. They can revive dead monsters and turn them into fallen corpse puppets for me to use." The sound of sharp intakes of breaths was continuous. Jian Ying, with her broad knowledge, exclaimed in surprise, "Wait, isn't that skill very similar to a hidden profession called necromancer?" Necromancer was a relatively well-known hidden profession. Mentioned in various textbooks, it was only natural for most people to know about it. Lu Fan was naturally very familiar with it as well. Lu Fan thought for a moment and said, "Actually, it's very different. Necromancer can only enslave normal monster, and they will face difficulty enslaving anything above normal grade, gold. There are also many restrictions when they want to enslave a boss. A's for the fallen Corpse Holy Dragon Kings, this part is different. They can enslave any monster with lower all four attributes than them, boss are no exception. Moreover, there's no limit on the quantity of monsters they can enslave because all Fallen Corpse puppets are stored in the puppet sub-space. As you all know, the puppet sub-space is boundless, accommodating hundreds of thousands of puppets is not a problem. The sound of sharp intakes of breaths came again. Qin Chu said in utter amazement. Doesn't that mean you can use every boss you've killed as a summon? If that's true, with the Fallen Corpse Holy Dragon Kings, you could easily build an entire monster army. Lu Fan smiled and nodded, thinking to himself that he had already done this. His monster army was the 9 Hell Demons army that had cost Extremistis country dearly. Tao Xiaoman's imagination also began to open up following Qin Chu's question. With one hand supporting her chin, she said, "Let's put the monster army aside for now. I think this current dungeon instance will be much easier to clear than we imagined. If we keep turning dead monsters into summons, with this gradual accumulation, couldn't we eventually have all the monsters in the dungeon instance surround the final boss? After we farm 2 more waves of monsters, we would not even need to act ourselves. We could just let the monsters fight each other while we enjoy the show." Lu Fan smiled and said, "We could do that, but it would be too slow. The monsters in this dungeon instance are far too weak. Rather than letting them kill each other, it would be faster if I let my pet dragon crush them." That makes sense. Tao Xiaoman nodded, then continued, "However, don't waste the monster corpses. Lu Fan, just turn all of them into Fallen Corpse puppets. They should be useful for leveling in the wilderness or clearing dungeon instances in the future." Others also nodded in agreement. After all, this was a level 70 Nightmare Dungeon instance, and the monsters inside were quite strong. They would definitely be great helpers for grinding monsters. However, Lu Fan indicated that while it might be worth enslaving bosses, regular monsters were just cannon fodder, and he realistically did not need more cannon fodder. Tao Xiaoman was somewhat surprised upon hearing this. After all, these were all at least level 60 elite monsters with considerable combat power. Yet, he was too lazy to enslave them when it just took him in order to do so. Realistically, it was the Fallen Corpse Holy Dragon Kings that was doing all the work. Lu Fan did not even need to do anything but move his mouth. Lu Fan nodded, directly admitting, "That's right, I'm really too lazy to collect them." Lu Fan had the Fallen Corpse Holy Dragon King summon a Demon Knight, saying he had nearly 2,000 of these level 75 gold-grade bosses. Summoning a War Drummer next, Lu Fan said he had about 30 of these main stage bosses. The Demon General was also summoned by Lu Fan, and he mentioned he had 9 of these level 85 Diamond Grade boss. Originally, when Lu Fan said he had 9 Demon General Fallen Corpse puppets, it had already left all the girls rigid with disbelief. Finally, Lu Fan summoned the Mad Hell Demon. This boss is a level 85 epic grade boss, and I have 9 similar ones. Lu Fan's tone was casual, but in the ears of Jian Ying and others, it was like a thunderbolt during a clear sky. A level 85 epic grade boss! This was an existence that could easily flatten a city. Yet, this kind of boss had been enslaved by Lu Fan, and he had enslaved 9 of them. This was simply outrageous! Jian Ying stared at the Mad Hell Demon in a daze for a while, then her body trembled once she recognized it. Even someone as composed as her became unsettled. Lu Fan, this boss, could it be one of the 9 Hell Demons? "You know about the 9 Hell Demons!" Lu Fan was slightly surprised. After all, if he had not participated in the national trial, he would not have known much about Extremistis country's 9 Hell Demons. "It really is one of the 9 Hell Demon." Jian Ying's pupils shook greatly as she said, "When I was in high school, I was interested in the history of foreign countries, so I read quite a lot of books on them. Among them, there was information about Extremistis country's 9 Hell Demons. When I saw that Demon General earlier, I felt it looked familiar. If I'm not wrong, this Mad Hell Demon is the strongest among the 9 Hell Demons. I have a deep impression of it, so I could easily recognize it. Seeing that Jian Ying knew something about this epic-grade boss Lu Fan had summoned, the others all asked about its background. After hearing Jian Ying's explanation about the 9 hell demons, everyone was thunderstruck. Even such a powerful boss had been enslaved by Lu Fan. This was getting more and more unbelievable. Since returning, Lu Fan had not mentioned much about what happened in the national trial, so he took this opportunity to briefly explain his gains from the secret realms. When they learned that these few bosses before them were just the tip of the iceberg, and that Lu Fan actually controlled the entire 9 hell demons' army, everyone looked at Lu Fan as if they were looking at a monster. Tao Xiaoman clicked her tongue in amazement and said with both shock and joy, "In that case, don't you now have the armies that made Extremistis country bow their heads? If Extremistis country offends you again, you could just release the 9 hell demons' army. I bet their people would cry. Well, we'll see if they are so blind as to be seeking death." Lu Fan smiled, then put away the remaining fallen corpsey puppets, leaving only the Mad Hell Demon. The Mad Hell Demon was very powerful, capable of steamrolling through this death desert ocean alone. After Lu Fan possessed the 9 hell demons' army, he thought about his days of auto-farming dungeons and leveling up. Now, with the chance to let the fallen corpse puppets kill all his enemies for him, why should he waste his own effort? When encountering monsters, just let the Mad Hell Demon handle it. Of course, Lu Fan had also considered whether to directly release the 9 hell demons' army to clear this entire map. However, to find the final boss, one needs to collect map fragments. Lu Fan felt that since this mechanism exists, it was likely an important prerequisite for triggering the final boss's appearance. It was possible if he could not collect all the map fragments, the final boss would not appear. Lu Fan could not possibly dig through the entire Death Desert Ocean to find the boss, could he? Finding a boss in such a nearly boundless dungeon instance would be like finding a needle in a haystack. The 9 hell demons' army could kill monsters, but they could not collect dungeon items for him. If he let the army spread out to farm monsters, Lu Fan would still have to search for map fragments one by one, which would be more troublesome. To simply put it, they should treat it like they were clearing a normal dungeon. He should bring everyone along to search together, clearing whatever they encountered. This way, they would not miss out on important mission items like map fragments. With the Mad Hell Demon, a level 85 epic-grade boss, there were not many monsters that required everyone's effort. Lu Fan had everyone split into 3 formations. The newly transformed fallen corpse puppets and demonic bloodthirsty bat formed the first line, walking at the front. Once they encountered any danger, they would be the first to face it, fulfilling their role as cannon fodder. The second formation was the Mad Hell Demon wielding its iron mace. If any monsters appeared, they would be dealt with immediately. As for the last formation, that was Lu Fan and the others. Everyone only needed to leisurely explore without worrying about anything else. After arranging everyone in this formation, Lu Fan led everyone in one direction. Sure enough, the vanguard fallen corpse puppets soon encountered trouble. A quicksand vortex suddenly formed under their feet, pulling at their bodies, constantly sinking and drawing them toward the center of the vortex. Although the fallen corpse puppets had no intelligence, they had combat instincts. After falling into the quicksand, they struggled desperately, trying to escape the vortex. However, even though they were level 65 elite-grade monsters with high attributes, they could not escape from the quicksand vortex's pull and could only watch helplessly as they sank deeper. Once swallowed by the quicksand, the result was predictable. Seeing the front, most fallen corpse puppets sink into the quicksand, all the girls present breathed sighs of relief while casting admiring glances at Lu Fan. They had not been trapped by the quicksand vortex because of his foresight. If Lu Fan had not warned everyone about possible dangers here, and had cannon fodder walk in front, they might have been the ones caught in the quicksand vortex. Chun Qiu repeatedly sighed in admiration. After all, Lu Fan was now so experienced, able to so easily find the safest method to explore an unfamiliar dungeon. This wave of monsters gave Lu Fan another map fragment, and Bao Bao reached level 3. Looking at the current situation, collecting 500 map fragments would be quite time-consuming. Fortunately, this dungeon instance gave high experience points. What came next was relatively simple. Lu Fan had Xiao Qiu cast Jade Shield on everyone to prevent sudden accidents. Then, he had the fallen corpse puppet scout ahead. If they encountered any quicksand vortex, everyone would temporarily detour around it. If they encountered monsters, naturally, the Mad Hell Demon would step in and easily eliminate them. Besides the Mad Hell Demon, Bao Bao, being the battle-loving baby dragon he was, could not stay idle and joined the fray. Whenever monsters appeared, he would compete with the Mad Hell Demon for kills, insisting on killing the monsters himself. However, the level and attributes difference was far too huge. Most monsters were instantly killed by the Mad Hell Demon's mace, leaving Bao Bao few chances to secure any kills. This made Bao Bao increasingly annoyed with the Mad Hell Demon. Several times, if Lu Fan had not quickly stopped him, he would have attacked the Mad Hell Demon. Although he did not get that many monster kills, their experience points definitely flowed into Bao Bao's body, making his level increase quite rapidly. Soon, the group encountered their first dungeon boss. Of course, this dungeon boss met a miserable fate, being shattered by the Mad Hell Demon in one hit. But the rich experience points provided by this boss helped Bao Bao reach level 5. What Lu Fan had not expected was that after reaching level 5, Bao Bao would learn another skill. Chain Lightning active skill LV Win, release a lightning bolt that can jump between multiple enemies, causing chain damage. Damage will increase by 20% for each jump up to 8 jumps. When used on a single target, the lightning bolt can jump between Blue Dragon King, Wrath of the Storm, and the enemy, with damage increasing by 50% per jump. Another damage output skill, and an area of effect magic skill at that. This skill was similar to the Lightning Mage's second profession skill, Chain Lightning, though their power could not be compared. Moreover, while Chain Lightning was only a single attack when dealing with a single person, Leaping Thunder could continuously jump between Bao Bao and the enemy, increasing in damage each jump. Thus, this skill could also be seen as a multi-hit single-target skill. No matter what, all 8 jumps would definitely be completed, maximizing the damage output. Generally speaking, mage skills were much more numerous than other professions. It was because of their many skills, mages have high burst damage. Releasing all skills at once made it difficult for both players or monsters to withstand. However, mages would not throw out all their skills at one go. Instead, they would selectively use more practical skills first. After all, they had one major limitation, which was their mana pool. This was a hidden attribute, like a person's stamina that couldn't be shown numerically but existed and could be sensed by those who had undergone profession change. Mages pursued increasing their mana attribute not only to increase their magic attack damage, but also to increase their defenses. Just like how some close combat profession players increased their endurance attribute for both defense and stamina. Therefore, it was not simply better for mages to have more skills. Along with numerous skills, they needed a sufficient mana pool to support the usage of such skills. For Bao Bao, he was a Blue Dragon King, which was basically made to use magic spells. He practically had an infinite mana pool. Under these conditions, each additional skill represented a huge increase in his magic damage output. Before, he could already dominate monsters with just Roaring Thunder and Heaven's Punishment. With another skill added, how could the monsters here possibly withstand it? Whatever monster appeared, he could just spam skills at it. Bao Bao's combat style was just this simple and brutal, but was undeniably incredibly effective. Therefore, the appearance of Leaping Thunder significantly increased Bao Bao's strength. Moreover, among Lu Fan's pet dragons, none had learned a new skill at level 5. Lu Fan estimated that Bao Bao's frequency in learning skills would likely be extremely high. He will most likely be the one with the most skills among all my children. When he fully matures, Lu Fan could already imagine dozens of skills being frantically thrown out. How could someone possibly withstand that bombardment? The name Bao Bao is quite fitting indeed. He, Lu Fan, had the Fallen Corpse Holy Dragon King use Fallen Corpse control to enslave the defeated boss, adding it as new cannon fodder, using it to continue the advance. Afterward, the group encountered many monster attacks and quicksand vortex ambushes. However, because Lu Fan was well prepared and had the Mad Hell Demon nearby, these dangers were basically non-existent. Any danger was absorbed by the cannon fodder, while Lu Fan's group felt like they were on vacation, not having to worry about anything. However, the group did not want to just coast along, do nothing and gain experience points. To train their skills in combat, Jian Ying and others would still choose to fight alongside the Mad Hell Demon and Bao Bao whenever they encountered monsters. At first, each wave only had 10 to 20 monsters, which was not enough to share amongst them. Not especially after Bao Bao learned his new skill and his damage output increased dramatically. Oftentimes, the battle would end before Chun Q could even prepare her skill. Later, the number of monsters gradually increased, with the group encountering 5 or 6 quicksand vortexes forming at once, from which various monsters would emerge, numbering around 50. Once that started happening, Jian Ying and the others finally had the chance to engage with the monsters. Soon, the group had spent a full day in the dungeon, killing countless monsters and collecting over 400 map fragments. Throughout their journey, Lu Fan had not been leading everyone around aimlessly like headless flies. He had not forgotten his mission in coming to the Death Desert Ocean. It was to claim the Divine Grade Treasure Map! After a day's journey, Lu Fan finally arrived at the coordinates marked on the treasure map. Using the excuse of taking a break, Lu Fan had everyone sit down to eat something, while he sat down at the treasure map coordinates and quietly opened his system panel. He covertly chose to claim the Divine Grade Treasure Map. He wondered if this Divine Grade Treasure Map would unearth another dragon egg. Ding, the coordinates of the host matches the coordinates of the treasure map. Divine Grade Treasure Map used successfully. Ding, congratulations host on obtaining 1 Dragon Hunter's Will Golden Dragon King Helmet. 1 Shadow Dragon King Contract Crafting Recipe. The Divine Grade Treasure Map was claimed, but its reward surprised Lu Fan. Previously, every time Lu Fan claimed a Divine Grade Treasure Map, he would get a mythical grade dragon egg. Lu Fan naturally assumed he would get his 5th dragon egg this time. He would soon reach level 45 and unlock his next pet slot. After getting the dragon egg, he could quickly hatch it to further increase his combat power. However, what Lu Fan had not expected was that the Divine Grade Treasure Map he claimed did not contain a dragon egg. My luck ran out. Lu Fan felt slightly disappointed but decided to check the rewards first. After all, it was from a Divine Grade Treasure Map. These 2 items should be anything but ordinary. Lu Fan first looked at the Dragon Hunter's Will Golden Dragon King Helmet in his system panel. Sure enough, it was a mythical grade item, part of the mythical grade equipment set. Dragon Hunter's Will Golden Dragon King Helmet. A mythical equipment set, level requirement 90, profession requirement Dragon Hunter, Silver Dragon Rider, Dragon Blood Warrior, Agility Ain 43, Strength Liton 81, Mana plus 433, Endurance plus 48, additional skill. Golden Form, active skill, transforms the entire body into gold. In this state, caster will be immune to all damage. However, at the same time, caster will not be able to move, attack, or use any skills. Can exit Golden Form state at any time while active. Maximum duration 3 minutes. Golden Dragon King Bloodline Release. Active skill, LV1 releases the Dragon Hunter's Will remaining in the equipment. Gains the Golden Dragon King Ultimate Shield's Bloodline Power. Enable one's body to transform into the Golden Dragon King. Once transformed, user will receive Strength ups level x50, Agility lufus level x50, Endurance ups level of 200, cannot enter riding state while transformed into Golden Dragon King, an equipment set bonus. Golden Dragon King Bloodline Release level so once a 1 summon 2, Golden Dragon King Bloodline Release level for 1. Gain skill, Golden Dragon King's Judgment Wings 1 and 3, Golden Dragon King Bloodline Release Level 1. Gain skill, Golden Dragon King's Blood Eruption I-14, Golden Dragon King Bloodline Release Level 1. Gain skill, Golden Dragon King's Light Ender Talent L1 Gullah 5. The attributes were somewhat lower compared to the belt, though this was normal, as helmets generally had the lowest attribute bonuses among all equipment types. This helmet also had an additional skill, Golden Form. After one look, Lu Fan realized it was just like the invincibility skill from games he had played before. This skill was quite useful for Lu Fan. In the future, if he encountered particularly strong opponents where his attributes were too low to fight and they were pursuing him, this skill would prove invaluable. Lu Fan could use Golden Form to avoid damage while watching how his opponent dealt with his 6 pet dragons and his 9 Hell Demons army. In 3 minutes, how many people could withstand being surrounded by 6 dragons plus the 9 Hell Demons? Moreover, Lu Fan had never had a helmet equipment before, so this could be equipped to greatly increase his overall combat power. However, this was a level 90 mythical grade equipment, and Lu Fan was still far from being able to equip it. After returning to Dragon Capital, I would need to find another no-level requirement enchantment scroll. After reviewing its details, Lu Fan decided to put the helmet in his inventory first. He began examining the other item, the contract crafting recipe. This crafting recipe was called the Shadow Dragon King Contract Crafting Recipe. It seemed to actually be the only thing that was directly related to his pet dragons. Can this make up for not getting a dragon egg? Lu Fan thought before checking it out. However, when he looked over it, Lu Fan's heart skipped a beat. Shadow Dragon King Contract Crafting Recipes, Mythical Grade Special Item. Description: after use, can craft the special item, Shadow Dragon King Contract. Require of Radiant Shadow Stone 0-3, Ancient God Crystal Laciramanzi 1, Shadow Isle Essence Sword 300, Shadow Spring Water 050, a Shadow Dragon King Contract, a mythical grade special item. Description: after use, summons Shadow Dragon King Blade of Darkness to fight for the caster. Duration 1 hour. Contract can be used 3 times. Shadow Dragon King Blade of Darkness will be the same level as the caster. What a great item! Its effects are basically no weaker than a dragon egg. If he could craft the Shadow Dragon King Contract, Lu Fan could summon a Shadow Dragon King of the same level as himself. He would be skipping the leveling process, and it could immediately join battle. Such a powerful special item was only mythical grade, surely, because it could only be used 3 times. Still, this limitation had no effect on Lu Fan at all, since Xiao Qiu had her Devar and Assimilate skill. In other words, she could eat the Shadow Dragon King Contract and turn it into a permanent skill. After all, there was already a precedent with the dragon's summoning Bone Flute. This greatly increased the significance of the Shadow Dragon King Contract. This was essentially the same as being given a dragon egg, one which could participate in battle immediately after hatching. The divine grade treasure map certainly did not disappoint. In his excitement, Lu Fan looked at the required materials for the crafting recipe. It required over 1,000 items in total. The dense list of materials required made Lu Fan's teeth ache, because among these materials, only the Radiant Shadow Stone and a few others near the end were relatively common. They were purchasable just at a high price. As for other items like the Ancient God Crystal, Shadow Isle Essence, Shadow Spring Water, and so on, Lu Fan had not even heard of them. Those that I have not heard of must be very rare. Gathering them wouldn't be simple. With no other choice, Lu Fan could only plan to post a purchase advertisement at Dragon Capital University's auction house, while also asking the Prosperous Heaven auction house. The Prosperous Heaven auction house was now Dragon Country's top auction house. With its backing, he believes he should be able to purchase most of the materials needed for the crafting recipe. Though the divine grade treasure map had been claimed and yielded excellent rewards, none were usable right now. So, Lu Fan could only eagerly put them away and rest briefly with Han Ke and the others, eating some food and drinking some water to claim him down. After the short break, Lu Fan continued leading the team forward. With the divine-grade treasure map claimed, Lu Fan had no other concerns. Next, he just needed to properly run this dungeon several times to see what rewards clearing it for the first time would yield. The group continued forward, encountering several waves of monster attacks. In the largest monster wave so far, there were over 100 monsters. Of course, over 100 monsters were still nothing to Lu Fan's group. The Mad Hell Demon and Bao Bao easily divided and conquered them all. In this dungeon instance, the group had cleared over 5,000 monsters, including 3 main stage bosses. These monsters provided massive experience points to Lu Fan's group. Qinchu Tao Xiaoman and Xiao Kui had leveled up once, while Han Ke, being at a lower level, gained 2 levels. Bao Bao leveled up the most. He had already reached level 8. Such rapid leveling was due not only to this dungeon's high level. It did provide enormous experience points, but Lu Fan's accelerated growth aura having reached level 7 played a key role too. Currently, he was providing nearly 5 times the experience points boost to his pet dragons. At this rate, Bao Bao would likely enter his growth period in just a few days. Finally, after the 4th main stage boss whimpered and was killed by the Mad Hell Demon's mace, Bao Bao and Han Ke leveled up again, while Zhang Ying and Xiao Kui also gained a level. At the same time, Lu Fan found 2 more map fragments on the boss, completing the 500 required map fragments. Lu Fan felt accomplished as he took out all the map fragments and combined them into a most complete retreat route map. Holding the map, Lu Fan saw a bright line running through it with clear coordinates. Moreover, the group's current position was right along the retreat route. Following the map's guidance along this route should lead them to where the tyrant died and the lost treasure. After identifying the coordinates and direction, Lu Fan led everyone along the map's retreat route. After just a few steps, he felt something rubbing against him. Looking over, Lu Fan saw Xiao Kui holding her head high, as if she had done something remarkable and was waiting for praise. Lu Fan was confused about what she meant. Remembering Xiao Kui had just leveled up, Lu Fan checked her attribute panel and was surprised to find she had learned another new skill. Jade Mirror Image's active skill, LV1, can target friendly units to create 2 mirror image projections. Mirror image projections gain all the skills of the friendly unit, with attributes at 30% of the original, maximum simultaneous mirror image projections per unit 2. Effect is doubled if applied to those of the dragon race or teammates with dragon bloodline. Incredible! Xiao Kui, you've learned yet another powerful skill at level 36. No wonder this little girl is looking so proud and seeking to be praised. Lu Fan was delighted, thinking how accomplished Xiao Kui had become. After reaching her maturing period, she had first learned Dragon Domain, and now, after gaining 1 level, she learned Jade Mirror Image. This was simply too amazing! Lu Fan decided to have Xiao Kui use Jade Mirror Image on himself. A green light flashed, and beside Lu Fan appeared an identical copy of himself. It was indistinguishable from the original except for having a blank expression, seeming slightly dull. Lu Fan could sense and control this mirror image projection easily. It was not much different from the feeling of controlling the fallen corpse Holy Dragon Kings. He could feel that this mirror image projection was quite powerful. Having access to all his equipment like the flaming meteor sword and underworld serpent's cry, and could even use dragon language magic. The only pity was that the mirror image projection could not summon pet dragons. That would make it truly invincible. Because Lu Fan had dragon bloodline, the mirror image had 60% of his attributes, making it quite formidable. At this state, the mirror image projection would certainly be able to handle third-profession players. Moreover, Xiao Kui could create 4 mirror image projections of Lu Fan. Together, their power would be comparable to the original. Furthermore, this was just a copy of Lu Fan. What about mirror image projections of Xiao Yi, Xing Chen, and the others? In the future, they might see 5 Xiao Yes casting great cataclysms simultaneously. 5 Xing-Chens all transforming into galaxy overlords and releasing neutron star and neutron star annihilation. That thought alone was exhilarating. Oh, right. He could never forget Bao Bao. One Bao Bao was already quite terrifying, just imagining 5 Bao Bao together, casting various skills together. Lu Fan believes even those that reached divinity could not possibly withstand that. More amazingly, Jade Mirror Image was only at level 1, and it was already so useful. When its level increases in the future, would Xiao Q not be able to create even stronger mirror image projections? Furthermore, even more mirror image projections per unit. Without doubt, though Xiao Q was a support specialized dragon, she was Lu Fan's most beloved dragon child. Not only was she well behaved, but the power increase she brought to Lu Fan was incomparable to any other pet dragon. While Lu Fan was feeling pleased, the sudden appearance of another Lu Fan startled everyone. Tao Xiaoman even drew her sword to attack, though it was not clear if she wanted personal revenge or was truly frightened by seeing 2 Lu Fans standing together. Lu Fan quickly explained, and everyone realized the other Lu Fan was a summoned mirror image projection, not some desert illusion. Such an interesting skill fascinated them, especially Tao Xiaoman, who wanted to try it herself. Unfortunately, Xiao Ku's skill could only be used on friendly units, Lu Fan and his pets and summons, not on others. So Tao Xiaoman would never get to see an identical mirror image projection of herself. However, she was quite crafty. After learning this was Lu Fan's mirror image projection, with only 60% of his attributes, she proposed a PvP match with the mirror image projection. She figured while losing to Lu Fan was normal, surely she could not possibly lose to his mirror image projection, right? The result proved the opposite of her thoughts. Lu Fan's mirror image projection could use all of his skills, so it simply used Flash Spirit Leap to appear beside Tao Xiaoman and easily knocked away her weapon with one sword strike. There was no help for it. Even at 60%, the attribute gap was still too large. It was still able to completely effortlessly dominate Tao Xiaoman. So, the sparring match ended as quickly as it began. Tao Xiaoman went completely emo afterwards, swearing never to spar with that monster again. Everyone laughed, then continued forward along the map route. After another half hour and several waves of monsters, Lu Fan's Black Dragon Perception passive triggered, making him stop. Ahead, within a 1-kilometer radius, the previously calm desert suddenly seemed to sense Lu Fan's group approaching and began to boil. It was as if what was underneath them was not sand but a pot of boiling water. Immediately after, a massive quicksand vortex formed, its area of effect far exceeding any monster wave the group had seen before. "Looks like the boss is about to appear," Lu Fan casually said, causing everyone else to turn solemn. They were now clearly preparing for battle. Sure enough, from the center of the quicksand vortex, monsters began to emerge. They seemed to have mastered the power to control the quicksand. They were walking on it as if it was solid ground. This time, they were more lifelike tyrants' attendants. Their skin was intact, looking almost identical to when they were alive except for their blank expressions. However, many magic runes appeared on their bodies, granting them power far exceeding what they had in life. They were monsters called Tyrant's Attendant Corps. They were all level 70 difficult boss, platinum equivalent to level 75 gold grade boss. There were 30 of them in total, definitely troublesome enemies for the average player. A team of players would need to separate them and defeat one by one. After the Tyrant's Attendant Corps emerged from the quicksand vortex, a chariot gradually appeared. It was made of pure gold, decorated with countless gems, clearly invaluable at first glance. On the chariot stood a monster with a massive body over 5 meters tall. It had a unique appearance. Its upper half was that of a giant with crimson skin, wielding a steel trident, wearing a crown with runes covering its body. Its lower half was similar to that of a scorpion, with armor and 8 limbs, plus a huge black scorpion tail. Lu Fan immediately cast appraisal on it. As expected, this monster was called the Cursed Tyrant. This was the king who had sunk into the quicksand vortex who knows how many years ago. The attribute panel had a brief introduction about him, basically saying, the king's greed caused him to sink into the depths of the Death Desert Ocean, along with his treasure chest. However, he remained alive till this day, not able to part this world with death. At the depths, he triggered a mysterious power beneath the Death Desert Ocean. This mysterious power merged with the original shaman's curse. Combined with the tyrant's greed and selfishness, it had transformed him into his current form. Now, his brutality has increased, and he gained control over the Death Desert Ocean, becoming its new ruler. Anyone who enters the Death Desert Ocean would be killed by him, and their treasures would be plundered, stored in his treasure chest. This boss was unsurprisingly a level 70 nightmare boss. Combined with so many boss attendants, clearing this would indeed be difficult for ordinary players. However, for Lu Fan, who had solo cleared the Dark Castles, this was merely child's play. Xiao Kui, Fallen Corpse Holy Dragon Kings, give our Mad Hell Demon here some buffs. Lu Fan commanded, not planning personally to action. Xiao Kui responded with a Fai Yi and began casting various skills on Mad Hell Demon, causing its attributes to dramatically surge. More terrifyingly, Xiao Kui also used her Jade Mirror Image skill. Instantly, 3 Mad Hell Demons stood side by side, all almost identical. Although each Mad Hell Demon mirror image projection only had 1/3 of the original Mad Hell Demon's combat power after Xiao Kui's buffs, each mirror image projection's attributes became absurdly high. They were not much worse than the original's base attributes. That was not all. The Fallen Corpse Holy Dragon Kings also had their Holy Light Radiance Aura skill, which could simultaneously affect all 3 Mad Hell Demons. Under various enhancement skills, any random mirror image projection would be no weaker than the original Mad Hell Demon's base form. As for the original Mad Hell Demon, its attributes increased enormously, power likely approaching that of a level 95 epic boss, a nightmare. The cursed tyrant, having just emerged from the quicksand vortex, had no idea what kind of enemy he was about to face. He just pointed his steel trident at Lu Fan's group and opened his mouth, hoarse voice rolling like thunder. Humans who have strayed into my Death Desert Ocean, hand over all your treasures. If you do, I can turn you into dried corpses, buried forever in the sand, rather than food for the ugly, filthy death sandworms. Before the cursed tyrant could finish speaking, Bao Bao could no longer contain his aggressive nature and soared into the sky. Instantly, roaring thunder, heaven's punishment, and chain lightning were simultaneously cast. They bombarded the cursed tyrant and the tyrant's attendant corpses. The entire quicksand vortex was filled with lightning, turning into a pool of lightning, with lightning bolts frantically bombarding all the bosses there. Bao Bao's unreasonable attack caught the cursed tyrant completely off guard. Although Bao Bao's skill damage was impressive, his level was still far too low to instantly kill the cursed tyrant. Moreover, his skills caused the cursed tyrant great pain and enraged him. You dare to resist? In that case, I'll bury you in this yellow sand! The cursed tyrant endured Bao Bao's skills while raising his steel trident up high. Instantly, the entire Death Desert Ocean seemed to obey his command. The previously silent desert in the distance suddenly rose like a tidal wave, forming a 100-meter high wave that swept toward everyone. Everyone felt as if they were standing in seawater, not only rising and falling, but their feet were also sinking. They were temporarily trapped in place, unable to escape. All around, they could see giant waves formed by sand, approaching from all directions. Being caught under them would certainly be dangerous. This boss really does have some tricks up his sleeve. This skill alone could most likely wipe out teams of players coming to clear this dungeon. Seeing the girls getting nervous, Lu Fan had Xiao Kui give everyone Jade Shield while ordering the Mad Hell Demons to attack. The 3 Mad Hell Demons leaped up simultaneously, easily escaping the sand trap. They soon began spinning their iron maces. In the blink of an eye, the iron maces in the 3 Mad Hell Demons' hands expanded to hundreds of meters long, as thick as 2 humans' embrace, like 3 pillars supporting the sky. Up in the sky, the Mad Hell Demon's strongest attack skill, Mad Sky Breaker Strike, was activated. The three Mad Hell Demons wielded their iron maces like iron whips, frantically smashing down on the cursed tyrant and his attendants. All that could be seen were the shadows of thick iron maces continuously dancing, stirring the entire quicksand vortex into chaos, nearly dispersing even Bao Bao's skills. Occasionally, when the three Mad Hell Demons' Mad Sky Breaker strikes collided, they would create massive sparks and thunder like explosions. How could the cursed tyrant possibly withstand such a fierce barrage of attacks? He and his poor attendants, under the barrage of the three iron maces, were as fragile as paper dolls. One Mad Hell Demon alone was enough to sweep away the cursed tyrant. Yet, this was three Mad Hell Demons enhanced with multiple buffs, all combined. They naturally could instantly kill the cursed tyrant! In the quicksand vortex, neither the cursed tyrant nor the tyrant's attendant corpse escaped from the Mad Hell Demon's iron maces. They became the shortest-lived boss and boss attendants. The surrounding sand waves had not even reached Lu Fan's group before subsiding. After all, the cursed tyrant who cast the skill was now shattered by Mad Hell Demon's Mad Sky Breaker strikes. His body broken to pieces. With the caster dead, the skill naturally got interrupted. This allowed Chin Chiu and the others to secretly sigh in relief. They were also marveling at how the Mad Hell Demon truly deserved its reputation as one of the historical 9 Hell Demons, displaying such terrifying power under Xiao Kui's skills. It was hard to imagine what kind of scene it would be if Lu Fan's entire 9 Hell Demons army attacked together. Add to that 6 pet dragons. Lu Fan's combat power could no longer be described simply as terrifying. After the main boss and his boss attendants were all beaten to death, a massive amount of experience points once again caused golden light to flash over.
Oh, it's over so quickly!
Tao Xiaoman looked at her sword, only half drawn, finally realizing what had happened. Looking ahead, the original quicksand vortex no longer has quicksand flowing, as the curse of the Death Desert Ocean disappeared with the cursed tyrant's death. However, where the cursed tyrant had been, there was now a crater dozens of meters deep from the mad clubbing of 3 iron maces. Thinking back to the Mad Hell Demon's barrage earlier, Tao Xiaoman unconsciously gulped. Seeing how slow her reaction had been, Lu Fan flicked her forehead and said with a smile, "Of course it's over. Come on, let's quickly find out where the lost treasure is. Once we find it, we can consider this dungeon instance cleared."
Oh,
That hurts! Lu Fan.
you bastard!
Don't think I won't hit you just because you're strong! Tao Xiaoman covered her forehead, where she had been flicked, grimacing in pain while fighting with Lu Fan. The others were used to this sight. After all, this was not the first time Lu Fan and Tao Xiaoman bickered and fought. Now that the boss was dead and the entire dungeon had become quiet, with no quicksand vortex appearing and no monsters spawning, everyone gathered near the boss's corpse to search for the lost treasure needed for the mission. However, with the quicksand vortex gone, there was nothing here except monster corpses and yellow sand. Everyone used their weapons as tools to search through the sand below. Even Xiao Yi, the fallen corpse holy dragon kings, and other pet dragons were digging through the sand, determined to dig at least a meter deep to find the lost treasure. However, after searching for a while, everyone came up empty-handed. Finally, Han Ke cleverly noticed something unusual about the cursed tyrant's corpse. Although he had been beaten to death by the Mad Hell Demons, his lower half, the scorpion-like body, was relatively intact. It was unlike the other body parts that had been smashed by the iron mace. Han Ke wondered, since the cursed tyrant valued his treasure chest so much, could he have hidden it inside his own body? Han Ke shared this idea with Lu Fan, who found it reasonable. Subsequently, Lu Fan had the Mad Hell Demons take action by smashing open the relatively intact lower half. The scorpion-like body was indeed very sturdy. Even the original Mad Hell Demon had to strike 5 times before completely breaking open this lower half. If it were any other player, they probably would not be able to break through this boss's remains in 3 days. And this dungeon is truly interesting. Before Lu Fan could marvel further, a gray mist burst from the cursed tyrant's shattered corpse, instantly spreading and enveloping everyone. Immediately, everyone's faces turned grayish, yellow, clearly affected by some kind of debuff. Lu Fan, being immune to all debuffs, naturally showed no changes. Seeing that the boss was like a cockroach that would not die even after death, and had even set such a trap for them at the end, Lu Fan got somewhat annoyed.
Xiao Ku!
At Lu Fan's command, Xiao Kui immediately understood. Light appeared around her body as rays of jade light shone on everyone, helping clear this unknown debuff. The debuff effect was very strong. Although Lu Fan and Xiao Kui reacted quickly, the momentary debuff effect still made all 4 girls feel unwell with their faces pale. Han Qi, who had the lowest attributes, even fell on her bottom, clutching her chest, having difficulty breathing. "Artie, are you okay?" Lu Fan hurried over to help her up. After taking a few seconds, Han Qi's complexion recovered a little. She forced a smile at Lu Fan. "I'm fine. I was poisoned by the boss earlier." Although Xiao Kui cleared it, the dizzy and nauseous feeling did not immediately go away. "Even so, I'm much better now. I actually don't feel anything unusual. I just need more time to recover." "That's good." Lu Fan sighed in relief, then looked toward the other 3 girls, asking about their condition. Jian Ying and others also indicated that although they still felt some discomfort, it was just the lingering effects of the debuff. It was nothing serious. Lu Fan was completely relieved. He viciously cursed. "This bastard is really nasty, setting up such a trick even after death. Next time we run this again, I'll personally take action and cut him to pieces." The 4 girls could not help but laugh at this. This incident was just a small episode, and they had already moved past it. Actually, Lu Fan had already considered whether the remains of the boss might explode. That was why he had the Mad Hell demons continue to attack the corpse instead of doing it himself. He believed that his position and that of his auntie and the others was far enough from the corpse. So far that even if something unexpected happens, they would not get affected by it. However, he had not expected the boss to be so vicious, with poison gas that could spread so quickly and affect such a wide area. It was apparent he would need to be even more careful in the future. Lu Fan looked at the boss's corpse. After the hard shell of the lower half was broken, sure enough, it revealed a huge treasure chest made of some unknown metal. The treasure chest gleamed with gold and was decorated with various gems. Both the chest's material and the gems must be extremely precious materials. Lu Fan smiled at this sight and said to Tao Xiamen, "Here's the wealth to rival a nation that you've been dreaming of. Tao Zi, why don't you go and open the chest? Maybe you'll become richer than your father." Tao Zi shook her head like a rattled drum.
No, that's fine.
"I'm afraid if I open this chest, not only won't I get richer than my father, I might have to leave this world earlier than him." Lu Fan smiled and immediately sent his cannon fodder, the Mad Hell demons, forward to open the treasure chest. When the chest opened, white light burst forth with no unexpected surprises. As Lu Fan had anticipated, there were no more tricks, not from inside the chest. Instead, it contained the completion reward for this dungeon instance. The white light gathered and split into 5 clusters, appearing before everyone. It seemed like the first clear of this dungeon instance indeed provided generous rewards.
There were as many as 5 items.
However, everyone was very conscientious and did not move to take the rewards. They were clearly waiting for their team leader, Lu Fan, to distribute the items. Lu Fan did not stand on ceremony. He immediately stepped forward to disperse the white light of the first reward. The first reward made Lu Fan break into a huge smile. After all, this was all just too perfect for him. It was actually a no-level requirement enchantment scroll. Seeing that the first reward was such a valuable scroll, the other girls also smiled with joy. They all knew this item was worth a lot, able to sell for a good number of dragon coins. Lu Fan naturally did not hesitate. After taking the scroll, he said to the others with a smile, "I'll take this scroll first, because I have a good piece of equipment that could make best use of this." The other girls naturally had no objection. In fact, to them, even if all the rewards went to Lu Fan, they would not mind. After all, this dungeon was essentially entirely cleared thanks to Lu Fan. He basically carried them. They were already satisfied just getting experience points. Lu Fan did not waste time holding the scroll. He immediately took out his Dragon Hunter's Will, Golden Dragon King helmet, and enchanting it. Instantly, the helmet's level requirement was removed, and Lu Fan could equip it. This helmet actually looked quite impressive, appearing quite majestic when worn. However, Lu Fan was still not used to having something like this on his head, so he chose to hide it. This was a function similar to the Flying Dragon King's bone wings. When the girls saw Lu Fan use such a precious scroll on a helmet, they naturally became very curious about it. For Lu Fan to use such a precious scroll, this helmet must not be any ordinary item. Tao Xiaoman was not reserved in the least. She directly asked if the helmet was diamond grade, which warranted the use of a no-level requirement enchantment scroll. Lu Fan smiled and directly showed the item panel for the Dragon Hunter's Will Golden Dragon King helmet. He directly showed it to everyone. Instantly, everyone fell silent. They exploded. This is a mythical grade item, and a level 90 mythical grade item at that! Currently, among all the girls' equipment, the best was Jian Ying's swords, which were just top-quality gold-grade weapons. Yet, Lu Fan was already equipping mythical grade items? Never mind mythical grade. For ordinary people, having even one diamond grade item would be enough to be considered a high flyer in everyone's eyes. Epic grade items could be considered a pipe dream. In fact, being able to see one in item panel form would be worth bragging about for years. As for mythical grade items, everyone had only seen them in textbooks. In this world, the item panels for mythical grade items could be counted on one hand. So, seeing that Lu Fan's helmet was a level 90 mythical grade item, even someone as cool and composed as Jian Ying could not retain her composure. No, she basically lost all composure. Han Qi was even more observant. Looking at the 2 in Lu Fan's equipment set bonus column, she hesitantly asked, "Fanner, your equipment set bonus shows that you've activated 2 pieces of the equipment set's additional traits. Doesn't that mean you have another mythical grade item currently equipped?" Lu Fan had nothing to hide from his auntie and nodded. "Yeah, my belt is also part of this equipment set. It is also a level 90 mythical grade item." This statement again triggered the girls' envy and jealousy. Just one such item could serve as an entire noble family's heirloom. Yet Lu Fan not only had 1 but 2, able to activate a 2-piece equipment set bonus. Tao Xiaoman was almost crying. She stared fixedly at Lu Fan's item panel with teary eyes. "We're all human. How can there be such a big gap between us? It's one thing that Lu Fan has so many powerful pet dragons, but he even has mythical grade equipment. With attribute enhancement higher than my base attributes, how is this fair? Where is the justice in this world?" Just looking at this one equipment, everyone could already guess that Lu Fan's attributes could not be measured by level alone. Perhaps his attributes were already equivalent to 4th profession players. Lu Fan also noticed that after equipping 2 pieces of the Dragon Hunter's Will equipment set, the Golden Dragon King Bloodline release skill had leveled up to LV2. Now, the Golden Dragon King Bloodline release skill effect has dramatically changed. Golden Dragon King Bloodline release active skill LV2 releases the Dragon Hunter's Will remaining in the equipment. Gains the Golden Dragon King Ultimate Shield's Bloodline power. Enable one's body to transform into the Golden Dragon King. Once transformed, user will receive Strength Luff's level X100 Agility Sus level X100 Mana Fa level X100 Endurance Fluff level 400 cannot enter riding state while transformed into Golden Dragon King. The attributes provided by this transformation skill had doubled. With this equipment set, Lu Fan could surpass many high-level players. In the future, he would not even need Xiao Ye and the others. he could depend on himself to become a powerful golden dragon king. Happily closing the item panel, Lu Fan continued to check the next reward. When the glow of the second reward dispersed, Lu Fan discovered it was a crafting recipe. Moreover, it was a crafting recipe for cooks. Crafting recipe flying Newpie candy, profession requirement enchanted cook. Description after use, user will be able to master the method of cooking flying Newpie candy. Flying Newpie candy after consumption, user will be able to fly for 2 hours. A consumable that could let others fly.
This is a true treasure.
It was perfect. After all, Jian Ying and the others currently could not fly, as they do not have any flight skills. But now, they could just eat this candy and their maneuverability would drastically improve. This is especially useful in dungeon instances with harsh environments. Although the flying Newpie candy name was quite worthy of ridicule, this was definitely a priceless treasure. Generally speaking, dungeon rewards would adjust somewhat based on the people clearing the dungeon instance. They would usually reward those clearing the dungeon with items they could use. Such a crafting recipe was naturally prepared by the dungeon specifically for Han Kei. This naturally needed to be given to her. Han Kei smiled as she accepted it, using it immediately. However, according to her, the materials needed for the candy were not currently available, so she could only make a few after they returned to Dragon Capital University. Fortunately, it was not an urgent need for the team, so it was fine if it could not be made right now. Lu Fan continued opening boxes, starting to check the third reward. Searching paper doll, special item. Description, when used, provides guidance to the target's location. Can only be used on those who have undergone their first profession change. This item can only be used 3 times. This item caught Lu Fan's attention. After all, if he had this in the National Trial Secret Realm, he would have hunted Charles and his group down long ago. This searching paper doll is quite useful. As for its 3-use limitation, that can be completely ignored with Xiao Q's devour and assimilate. So, Lu Fan took the searching paper doll and directly fed it to Xiao Qi. Thus, Xiao Qi gained another functional skill. In the future, if Lu Fan wanted to find someone, he could use the searching paper doll skill. Next, Lu Fan looked at the 4th reward. The 4th reward was a pair of platinum-grade mage boots with high attribute bonuses. Not only did it come with a skill, it also increased light element magic damage. It was perfectly tailored for Qin Q. This equipment naturally went to Qin Q. The 5th reward was also a platinum-grade equipment, but it was a longsword this time. Although it was also platinum-grade, its attributes were extremely good, even surpassing Qin Q's mage robe. By all rights, this weapon should be given priority to Lu Fan. However, Lu Fan saw that Tao Xiaoman clearly wanted it. She even deliberately turned her head away, pretending to be indifferent. He could not help but smile and directly gave the sword to her.
Tao Zi, this sword is yours. What? For me?
Tao Xiaoman was overjoyed, but a moment later she became solemn and hesitantly asked, "But you use swords too. Shouldn't this sword be given to you first?" Lu Fan smiled, taking out his flaming meteor sword, explaining, "I already have my perfect weapon. I don't need any other. Unless you want to look at mine for comparison."
I don't want to look at it.
Tao Xiaoman could tell, just by looking at its impressive appearance, that it must be much stronger than the reward. It was most likely at least a diamond-grade weapon. After all, this was Lu Fan who was showing off. How could his weapon be anything ordinary? Tao Xiaoman did not want to get depressed. Not by this bastard again, or she would question life even more. The platinum-grade longsword from the dungeon rewards would certainly be of no use to Lu Fan. Since that was the case, Tao Xiaoman did not stand on ceremony anymore and happily accepted the sword. She even caressed it in her hands with obvious love. However, since this was a level 70 dungeon instance, Tao Xiaoman's longsword and Qin Chu's mage robe had high-level requirements, a minimum level of 50. These 2 girls were still far from being able to equip their new equipment, so they next needed to focus on leveling up. The 5 rewards were quickly distributed, but honestly, Lu Fan still felt somewhat unsatisfied. After all, this was a newly cleared level 70 Nightmare Dungeon instance. Although it gave everyone 5 rewards, the items overall did not satisfy Lu Fan, who held higher expectations. For the first clear of this dungeon, the rewards seemed rather stingy. Lu Fan pursed his lips and said to the girls, "I think if we run it a few more times, we should be able to get better rewards." Jan Ying nodded, saying, "Yes, the first few clears of a dungeon usually have very generous rewards. After about 7 or 8 runs, the rewards gradually decrease. Perhaps if we run this dungeon again, we might get even more rewards than this." "Yeah," Lu Fan smiled. "Let's try to get some rewards that Jian Ying can use next on our next run." From the dungeon rewards, basically everyone got something they needed, except Jian Ying, who came away empty-handed. Hearing Lu Fan say this, Jian Ying's face turned slightly red. Though she tried to show no reaction, she still had to say, "I don't mind, we can just wait until the next time." "Ha, ha, ha," Lu Fan chuckled. "That won't do. We need to make sure everyone benefits from the dungeon rewards. Since we've run through the dungeon once from start to finish now, next time we run it, we should be able to improve our time. We might even be able to do 2 runs in a day. But for now, we're all tired after running this dungeon all day. Let's go out and rest first, then continue tomorrow." Everyone naturally agreed. Just then, the treasure chest had transformed into a transport array to leave this place. Lu Fan took the lead, bringing everyone to step onto the transport array to leave. While Lu Fan had been running the dungeon for a day, the outside world had turned into chaos. Just as Guhan was sighing, suddenly, there was a sound from afar. Guhan turned to look and saw that from the 2 extremist country camps, a squad from each was advancing towards this place. Guhan frowned, not understanding why extremist country guards would approach their location. However, dealing with extremist country guards was not something Dragon Capital University staff should handle. So, Guhan did not pay much heed to it. The Dragon Country Guards naturally noticed this situation too and split into 2 squads, waiting within Dragon Country's designated territory for the other side to approach. They wanted to ask what was their purpose for getting so close to Dragon Country's territory. The 2 Extremist Country Guard squads quickly approached, and a Dragon Country Guard squad leader loudly called out, "Stop right there. Beyond this point is Dragon Country territory! If you have any business here, please maintain your distance and speak with me. Otherwise, I will consider you invaders and launch a counterattack." And everyone from Dragon Country thought the 2 approaching squads would stop there and state their business. What no one expected was that someone at the front of one of the Extremist Country squads drew their sword and struck out, immediately creating a sword queue that appeared in mid-air. This one attack instantly killed the Dragon Country Guard squad leader who had just spoken, blood splashing everywhere. The other side had sent out a strong player. That sword strike just now was a 3rd profession skill, lightning flash strike. The person who struck was definitely a 3rd profession player, and not a low-level one at that. After all, the Dragon Country Guard squad leader was a level 50 knight with high defense. For the other side to use a 3rd profession change skill and instantly kill him, their level must at least be above 75. This definitely was not the strength that ordinary Extremist Country Guards could possess. For those level 75 and above, they would generally be regarded as generals of Extremist Country. The other side's sudden, deadly attack left Dragon Capital University's people stunned. They were completely unprepared for such a situation. Even so, the Dragon Country Guards were hardened veterans who had been through many bloody battles. They had reacted very quickly to the sudden change in situation. The deputy squad leader took over the squad leader's role and immediately roared orders. "Alert! Enemy attack! Quick, crush the signal stone and send a message back to Dragon Country!" Understood? None of the guards retreated, forming ranks to prepare for battle. Among them, one guard took out a milky white stone from his inventory, about to crush it. This was a signal stone, which always came in pairs when made. Once one was crushed, the other would break as well. Because there was no signal in the wilderness, this was the only way to notify Dragon Country of an enemy attack. Just as this guard was about to crush the signal stone, the air distorted, and a dagger appeared from nowhere, piercing into his neck. Slash! A red flash passed, and the Dragon Country guard's neck sprayed blood, his head flying off. A nearby Dragon Country guard roared upon seeing this.
Everyone be careful! There are assassins using concealment!
Quickly protect the mages and priests. As he spoke, he raised his greatsword to strike at the now visible assassin. This assassin's level and power were quite impressive. Facing the greatsword, he easily parried it with his bloody dagger, then let out a contemptuous cold laugh. Not lingering to fight, he grabbed the signal stone from the ground while retreating back. He was naturally not the only assassin who had snuck in. As the sound of daggers piercing flesh rang out, 3 assassins appeared in the Dragon Country Guard's backline, instantly killing the mages, priests, and support personnel. Even the transport array leading to Dragon Capital University had its gem shattered by an assassin, immediately rendering it useless and cutting off everyone's last escape route. By now, all the Dragon Country guards had realized the problem. The squad leader had been killed by a single sword strike, and so many assassins had snuck up on them without anyone noticing.
The enemy definitely were not ordinary guards. They were Extremist country's elite forces. Quick!
Get back the signal stone. The vice squad leader's eyes were almost bleeding with rage. He roared before activating his skill, Charge, trying to catch the assassin who took the signal stone. However, several arrows trailing with fire streaked through the air, hitting him with deadly precision. Twang, the arrows vibrated, pinning the vice squad leader to the ground while he was charging, killing him instantly. Moreover, the sky flickered with flames as countless arrays appeared, raining countless fireballs that covered the entire Dragon Country camp. In an instant, the Dragon Country Guard's defensive line was torn apart. They were just ordinary guards, after all. How could they match the enemy's elite forces? Even Dragon Capital University's teachers and teaching assistants were not spared. An assassin had already reached their camp and instantly killed a mage teaching assistant. Guhan reacted by now, but fear did not make her lose her battle sense. As a Dragon Capital University teacher, she had rich combat experience. She immediately drew her sword and charged at the assassin who had entered their camp. Not just Guhan. Other Dragon Capital University teachers also began to counterattack. Although this assassin's level and strength were impressive, he was temporarily forced to retreat when faced with their pincer attack. However, it was all useless, because the enemy mage's skills had already landed. Countless fireballs crashed down, leaving them with nowhere to dodge. The camp was instantly destroyed, becoming a mess. More terrifying was that Extremist country's close combat profession players had arrived and begun directly engaging the Dragon Country guards. Though called direct engagement, it was really just a one-sided slaughter. Seeing the enemy's close combat profession players about to reach the camp, which would cause everyone to die, Guhan was frantic with worry. An elderly teacher of the night profession summoned his mount to face the approaching close combat profession players, shouting without looking back.
Everyone who can escape should quickly run away! Don't stay here to die in vain!
Escape.
This is Extremist country territory!
Where can you run to? An enemy knight had already arrived, charging at this elderly teacher. After one exchange, the enemy used 2 skills in succession to unmount the teacher, slamming him heavily to the ground, where swordsmen rushed in to kill him. Seeing the situation so one-sided, Guhan could think of nothing else. With bloodshot eyes and tears flowing, her trembling hands took out a purple scroll from her inventory. Guhan crushed it directly, and immediately, lights from a transport array flickered and began forming. The forming transport array immediately attracted the enemy's attention. An archer immediately aimed at Gu Han, planning to kill her before the transport array fully formed. From crushing the teleportation scroll to forming a usable transport portal took about 3 seconds. In those 3 seconds, killing Gu Han would be too simple. However, just as the archer let loose his arrow, Gu Han's body was pulled into the knot, yet formed transport array and disappeared along with it. The archer's arrow naturally missed. This scene made the archer pause momentarily before understanding what had happened. He immediately reported to his commander ahead. "Commander, someone used a random teleport scroll to escape from here." The so-called random teleport scroll was actually a defective teleportation scroll. It even had another name, suicide scroll. Random teleport scrolls could teleport someone away, but where they would be teleported to was uncertain. It would randomly teleport the user to any location on the current map, and most likely to an extremely dangerous place. Because the more dangerous a place was, the more chaotic its spatial principles would be, making it more likely to be the random teleport scroll's destination. Therefore, over half of random teleport scroll users end up in perilous situations because of it. However, random teleport scrolls had one advantage. As defective products, they could pull users in before the transport array fully formed. Using a random teleport scroll to escape was much quicker than using a teleportation scroll. The middle-aged man addressed as commander, the person who had killed the Dragon Country Guard squad leader with one sword strike, was quite dismissive of this. "Let her run. She's just a Dragon Capital University teacher. She is not worth worrying about. Moreover, this is the Divine Bone Forest. It is full of dangers. Even our God Destroyer Legion had to pay a considerable price to explore it. Random teleport scrolls can only teleport her to a random location on this map. If she gets teleported deep into the Divine Bone Forest, she's dead. Even if she escapes, so what? Our people are everywhere. Besides, the transport array to the dungeon instance has already been destroyed. Everyone here is trapped, and reinforcements will not be here anytime soon." His gaze turned to the Death Desert Ocean dungeon instance entrance as he sneered. "The same goes for those inside the dungeon instance?" Meanwhile, the slaughter continued, but soon everything returned to silence. Of course, the individual combat capabilities of the God Destroyer Legion soldiers were still a little inferior compared to Dragon Country's Griffin Legion. After all, the Griffin Legion's minimum requirement was level 70. Extremist country lacked Dragon Country's abundant resources and population, so they could not really form a military unit comparable to the Griffin Legion. The God Destroyer Legion's minimum level requirement was 60, and they must have had their third profession change. They knew that they could not match the Griffin Legion in terms of quality. So, Extremist country expanded the God Destroyer Legion's numbers to 10,000 people. It was twice that of the Griffin Legion. Extremist country always claimed that the God Destroyer Legion was qualified to challenge the Griffin Legion. However, Tujing and Dragon Country would just grin at this, neither acknowledging nor denying it. Regardless, the fact that the God Destroyer Legion had the courage to challenge the Griffin Legion showed that they were truly an ace military unit. The person standing at the front was their general. He wore a cold smile, looking down at all the corpses here. Dragon Country guards, truly worthless. I really wish that when I led the charge earlier, it wasn't just a small Dragon Country camp, but a Dragon Country city! Now that would have been a satisfying invasion. Beside him, someone like an adjutant knelt on one knee and reported, "General Li Tai, the God Destroyer Legion's 1st Battalion, 2nd Company Commander just reported. During this mission, we've killed a total of 43 Dragon Country personnel, but one person escaped using a random teleport scroll. Should we continue the pursuit?" Liu Tai waved his hand and said, "Send 2 squads to the Divine Bone Forest to find that woman who escaped. They must bring her back. Bring her back alive, if possible, dead if necessary." Li Tai's final words had a strange tone to it. The adjutant before him naturally understood. Li Tai's meaning was clear. If they could find her, bring her back. If not, just kill her and bring back her corpse to complete the mission. The adjutant responded with "Yes, sir," and went to relay the orders. Afterwards, Li Tai called another person and said, "Go, have the messenger Eagle report to Lord Jin that the entrance to the dungeon instance has been cleared. Now, we're just waiting for the Dragon Country representative to emerge so we can capture them all at once." Just as Li Tai said this, suddenly a transport array silently opened. From within the transport array, countless tentacles emerged, holding open the edges of the array, forcibly maintaining the passageway. Seeing such a transport array suddenly appear, all present God Destroyer Legion members were greatly startled and immediately knelt down. Jin Zion walked out from the transport array, and everyone immediately called out, "Welcome, Your Majesty, King Jin." Jin Zion nodded slightly and said, "No need for messenger eagles. I've come here personally." He looked at everything here with satisfaction while asking, "The Dragon Country representative is in the dungeon instance now, correct?" Li Tai answered, "Reporting, the target and his friends are all in the dungeon instance." "Well done." Jin Zion nodded. Suddenly, from under his black robe emerged countless tentacles, a sight that made one's scalp tingle. These tentacles crawled over all the corpses present. Where the tentacles passed, the bodies immediately underwent changes. Their skin began to rot while emanating a purplish-black gas. The expressions on all the corpses uniformly became fierce. After completing all this, Jin Zion added, "Arrange these corpses in a pattern to disguise this as a heretical sect's massacre. Although everyone here is dead and no one can send intel back to Dragon Country, eventually someone will discover the abnormality here. At the same time, the death of the Dragon Country representative would need someone to take the fall. Pushing this matter onto the heretical sects would be the best for us." "Understood," Li Tai responded, then immediately ordered his subordinates to move all the corpses aside and disguise it as a heretical sect's massacre. After giving the orders, Li Tai lowered his head again, asking Jin Zion if there were any other orders. Jin Zion said, "Just station the God Destroyer Legion in various nearby locations. Remember, don't let anyone approach this place, especially not people of Dragon Country. Only after I've killed Lu Fan and destroyed all the evidence here can outsiders be allowed to set foot here. This way, we can distance our extremistis country from Lu Fan's death. If anyone tries to approach the area, treat them as heretics and kill them without question." "Understood." After Li Tai responded, he gathered his courage and asked with uncertainty, "Your Majesty, your subordinate wishes to speak. For mere Dragon Capital University students, wouldn't our God Destroyer Legion be sufficient to kill them? Why must you personally take action?" Jin Zion turned slightly. Though Li Tai could not see Jin Zion's face under the hood, he knew the other's eyes must be fixed on him at this moment. This made him suddenly feel as if he was plunged into an ice cave. A wave of chills was spreading through his body. He immediately realized he had spoken out of position, daring to say too much. If you don't even have this level of judgment, you shouldn't be leading the God Destroyer Legion. Jin Zion coldly said, "This person is the Dragon Country representative who, in the national trial, consecutively killed my son, Jin Cheng'en, Cherry Blossom Country's Masashi Ten, and even Star Strip Country's Moore family's heir, Charles. Moreover, in the national trial, someone saw him enslave a demon general and demon knights, setting aside his own pet dragon. Just one demon general and the demon knights alone, do you have confidence to face them head on with your God Destroyer Legion?" Demon General! Hearing this name, Li Tai's expression immediately changed drastically. How could he not know of the demon general? Each of the 9 hell demons had a top general. The demon generals were such beings. They alone could level a small city in Extremistis country. If they really had to kill demon generals and demon knights, even if their God Destroyer Legion could win, they would surely suffer heavy casualties. Such a being had actually been enslaved.
This was simply inconceivable.
Jin Zion continued. Furthermore, what level is this dungeon instance? It is a level 70 nightmare difficulty dungeon instance. He dares to bring second profession students with him to clear it. Just how strong do you think he is? These words sent chills down Li Tai's spine. He had overlooked such important information. To clear a level 70 nightmare dungeon instance, if it was a 5-man team, would they not all need to be around level 85? Could this one boy's strength match 5 level 85 players? If that's true, it would be extremely difficult for the God Destroyer Legion to kill him. Most likely, he would escape from Ustai. Little did Li Tai know, if the God Destroyer Legion really encountered Lu Fan, the result would not be as simple as Lu Fan escaping from them. Enough. Just do your job and keep quiet, Jin Zion said gravely, unwilling to say more to Li Tai. Your God Destroyer Legion and the God Slaying Legion only need to form a defensive line around this place to prevent anyone from coming. The rest does not concern you. A lion uses everything it has, even if it is to catch a rabbit. Whatever force, whatever cost is needed to kill this person is worth using. As he spoke, 4 more people walked slowly out of the transport array Jin Zion had created. These 4 each had terrifyingly powerful auras. Every piece of their equipment was at least platinum grade, with some of diamond and epic grades. They were definitely all 4th profession players, experts among experts at that. The last 4th profession player to emerge was a middle-aged man with considerable facial hair, appearing around 50 years old. Though his clothes were tattered, the long sword on his back glowed with an unusual light, clearly extraordinary. Holding a white jade wine flask, he glanced around after emerging and grinned. So this is the God Destroyer Legion. Boss Jin. Seems like our extremist country really still can't produce that many decent players. The so-called God Destroyer Legion is far too inferior compared to Dragon Country's Griffin Legion. No wonder when Extremist country boasts that the God Destroyer Legion could match the Griffin Legion, that old batard Tu Jing would sneer. Thinking about it now, I feel embarrassed for you. His words showed no regard for the many God Destroyer Legion members present. If anyone else had spoken this way, Li Tai, as the Legion's general, would certainly have exploded in fury. However, Li Tai currently did not dare make a sound. He recognized that these 4 who had just arrived were 4 of the 5 national guardians of Extremist country. The speaker, named Kong Qing, was second in power only to Jin Zion among the 5 national guardians. It was said that he had personally beheaded the strongest of the 9 hell demons, the Mad Hell Demon. The 9 hell demons incident had shocked all of Extremist country, and when the 5 national guardians killed them in succession, it was recorded in history. Thus, almost everyone in Extremist country knew of their appearances and powers. If Li Tai remembered correctly, these 5 had already reached around level 95 years ago. They had also undergone their 4th profession change many years before. After all these years of leveling up, they might have already exceeded level 100. 5 such powerful 4th profession players, all gathered here just to kill someone who had only undergone his 2nd profession change. Who would believe such a thing? True, a lion uses everything it has even to catch a rabbit, but this did not feel like that analogy. This was like a lion trying to catch a mosquito. Shocked, Li Tai gulped hard, knowing that with the 5 national guardians here, his God Destroyer Legion and God Slaying Legion were completely unnecessary. Even after being mocked by Kong Qing, Li Tai did not dare complain. He immediately slinked away with his people to set up a defensive line nearby and watch out for suspicious individuals. While Lu Fan had been running the dungeon for a day, the outside world had turned into chaos. The God Destroyer Legion had destroyed the 2-way transport array set up between the dungeon instance entrance and Dragon Capital University. This naturally caused the transport array at Dragon Capital University to stop working, attracting the attention of the university staff. After inspection confirmed that the transport array on the other end had been destroyed, the teachers reported to Zhao Shengming, who was currently managing everything in Dragon Capital University. After checking, Zhao Shengming felt something was wrong and immediately contacted the Dragon Country Defense Bureau to check up on the situation at the area around the Death Desert Ocean Dungeon instance. As a result, the Defense Bureau discovered the guard team at the Death Desert Ocean Dungeon instance was uncontactable. Even crushing the signal stone got no response from them. Thus, the Defense Bureau and Dragon Capital University immediately sensed something was extremely wrong. They contacted the relevant departments in Extremistis country, asking them to investigate. After all, Extremistis country usually stationed guards near the Death Desert Ocean Dungeon instance, too. At the same time, although Extremistis country had been quite thorough, killing the Dragon Country guards and preventing news from leaking, they knew that no matter how careful they were, Dragon Country would definitely be alerted when a guard team and so many university teachers died. They had prepared their explanation early on. When Dragon Country raised questions, Extremistis country maintained complete innocence, saying they had sent people to check on the situation and would quickly respond to Dragon Country if something came up. After some delays, they reported that after their guards went to the area outside the entrance of Death Desert Ocean, they found the Dragon Country guard team had been completely wiped out, supposedly attacked by heretics. The specific situation was still under investigation. Extremistis country had also dispatched additional personnel to search for survivors and perpetrators near the Divine Bone Forest, saying they would definitely help Dragon Country catch the heretics responsible and give Dragon Country an explanation. When Dragon Country received this news, everyone was in uproar.
This was outrageous!
Their people had been killed by heretics in Extremistis country's territory, while their representative, Lu Fan, had led his team to run the dungeon instance with their safety unknown. The Defense Bureau immediately asked Extremistis country to build a transport array near the Death Desert Ocean, wanting to send people to check up on the current situation. Extremistis country agreed on the surface, but when asked when the transport array could be built, they kept hemming and hawing, constantly using excuses to stall for time like the Death Desert Ocean is deep within the wilderness. Transport array materials are difficult to transport, so we can't determine when the transport array can be completed. The Death Desert Ocean Dungeon instance was located within Extremistis country's territory. Although it had been allocated to Dragon Country, once the transport array was cut off, the area around this dungeon instance became no different from an isolated island. It made it extremely difficult to reach that place, especially when they needed to go through Extremistis country. So, even though Dragon Country was extremely anxious, Extremistis country could keep stalling, and there was nothing anyone could do about it. Naturally, Dragon Country had dispatched forces toward the Death Desert Ocean Dungeon instance, hoping to reach the site of the incident as quickly as possible. However, due to the distance, it would still take a considerable amount of time. Right now, with the situation around the Death Desert Ocean Dungeon instance being unclear, by the time Dragon Country's people arrived, it was hard to say what the situation would be like. The initiative in this matter was clearly in Extremistis country's hands. Like at this time, in Extremistis country's capital, overseeing Heaven City, in the Jin family meeting room, Jin Zion, who had been made fully in charge of this matter, leaned back in his comfortable office chair. He watched report after report come in with a satisfied smile on his face. Compared to Dragon Country, who was almost completely in the dark about the area around the Death Desert Ocean, Jin Zion, who had already made massive preparations, knew everything about the place like the back of his hand. Days ago, when Dragon Country was still building their transport array, the God Slayer Legion and God Destroyer Legion had already set up 24 military camps around the Death Desert Ocean. They even had their communications facilities completed before the operation began. The 2 ace military units were all assembled and spread across the 24 camps, completely surrounding the Death Desert Ocean. With this iron blockade formed by the two legions, plus no transport array to and from Dragon Country, Lu Fan was completely isolated without support. Within the encirclement, the 5 national guardians of Extremist country would be waiting, and they had been waiting for a long time. Once Lu Fan came out of the dungeon, he would have absolutely no chance of escape. It was only with Lu Fan's death that Jin Zayan's life could be spared. However, Jin Zayan was now completely at ease. After all, it was now his older brother's turn to end it. In his mind, how could his older brother possibly fail? Just as Jin Zayan was rejoicing, a subordinate quickly pushed open the door and entered with a tense expression. "Lord Jin, there's more news from Dragon Country!" The person knelt on one knee and reported as soon as he entered. "What news could make you so flustered?" Jin Zayan leisurely asked, not even bothering to open his eyes. The subordinate broke out in cold sweat and said, "2 more letters just arrived from Dragon Country. This time, they're from Han Fai Bai and the Northern Marquis, Lord Tu Jing." "What?" Jin Zayan nearly fell from his seat, all his previous composure gone. "Those 2 have spoken up. What did their letters say?" The subordinate reported. "The content of both letters is similar. They're criticizing our Extremist country for being ineffective, as we have not provided Dragon Country with specific information about the situation at Death Desert Ocean for far too long. They state they're unable to wait any longer. So, they will be sending high-level players to cross over the border directly into Extremist country. They hope that if any conflict arises, Extremist country will be understanding." "They are going to directly cross the border?" "Dragon Country sure is bold." Jin Zayan was furious upon hearing this. He slammed his fist onto the table. Elder Han and Tu Jing's talk of being understanding was merely sweetened words, barely courtesy. The real meaning of the message was, "If you dare to stop us, we'll kill everyone, and don't say we didn't warn you!" Though Jin Zayan was livid, he was also at a loss for words. After all, he could not afford to offend either Tu Jing or Elder Han. Tu Jing commanded the Griffin Legion, while Elder Han had numerous mighty players under him, with the 4 ultimate swordsmen being world-class players comparable to the 5 national guardians. If their men really crossed the border, should Extremist country even try to stop them? If they tried, who would do it? The God Slayer Legion and God Destroyer Legion were all currently surrounding Death Desert Ocean. Sending other military units would just be sending them to their deaths. If they did not stop them, and the other side reached Death Desert Ocean and discovered that it was not the heretics that had killed those of Dragon Country, but rather Extremist country trying to ambush their national hero Lu Fan, then the grudge between Dragon Country and Extremist country would be irreparable. In fact, at that point, Dragon Country might directly declare war. Extremist country naturally dare not to go to war with Dragon Country. If Dragon Country did not have sufficient reason for war, Extremist country could still draw in neutral forces to their side. However, if Dragon Country had a just cause and Extremist country deserved to be attacked, which neutral force would stand on Extremist country's side? With Tu Jing and Elder Han both getting involved, Jin Zayan was sweating profusely. He remained silent for a full 5 minutes before gravely saying, "Send out the God Annihilator Legion, under the pretext of securing the border, toward our border with Dragon Country. If they encounter people from Dragon Country trying to force their way through, try to hold them back as much as possible. Delay them." "Yes!" The subordinate accepted the order and hurried off to make arrangements. After the subordinate left, Jin Zayan wiped the sweat from his brow and looked toward the Death Desert Ocean, hoping. All domestic transport arrays have already been closed off under the pretext of purging the heretics. So, reinforcements from Dragon Country can only force their way in from the border. Even from the nearest transport array, crossing Extremist country's border will still take some time. Within that time, my brother should be able to kill Lu Fan and make it look like the work of the heretics. That way, Dragon Country can only swallow this bitter pill. But, with Han Faibai and Tu Jing being the ones who are sending out reinforcements, this matter is dire. I should still warn him about this. Muttering to himself, Jin Zion called over a subordinate and had them send a message to the God Slayer and God Destroyer legions, telling the two legions to watch out for Dragon Country's reinforcements. They also needed to inform the 5 National Guardians present about this grave matter. The murder must be done without delay! One at the entrance of the Death Desert Ocean Dungeon instance. After several flashes of white light, Lu Fan's group walked out chatting and laughing. Although it was just dawn with the sun rising, everyone was tired after running the dungeon instance for a whole day. They were planning to eat something before sleeping in their tents. However, as soon as they exited the dungeon instance, Lu Fan immediately sensed something was wrong. Battle instincts made Lu Fan immediately summon Xiao Kui to give everyone buffs. By now, Jian Ying and the others also noticed something was wrong. The dungeon instance entrance was in complete disarray, with the smell of blood permeating the air. Looking ahead, there were gruesomely killed corpses arranged in an eerie pattern. Han Ke let out a startled scream, her face instantly turning pale. Jian Ying's brows furrowed as she drew out 5 swords simultaneously, protecting everyone behind her. What happened? Qin Chu's complexion was not much better than Han Ke's. She never imagined they would see such a gory sight upon exiting the dungeon instance. Jian Ying looked at the corpses, noting their horrific state and strange arrangement. She hypothesized. Could heretics have attacked this place? It looks like the Dragon Country guards and our teachers and teaching assistants are all dead. What? All dead? The others' expressions became even worse, filled with grief and anger. As for Lu Fan, he had never been this furious before. Looking at the corpses, he coldly declared, "This wasn't done by heretics. Heretics are people who avoid exposure, since they still like to live in populated areas. Else, how could they gather more followers and have contact with ordinary people? This can't be their doing. It just doesn't make sense why they would appear here of all places. After all, this is deep within the wilderness. Although slightly more developed compared to other areas of the wilderness, there are no ordinary people here for them to convert. There are only players, and there are even guards around. This is not somewhere heretics would want to appear in, much less expose their existence in." After Lu Fan finished speaking, his eyes narrowed, because after saying those words, he suddenly understood who might be responsible for the deaths of these people. Sure enough, as soon as Lu Fan's voice fell, a cold laugh came from not far away. As expected of Dragon Country's hero. You sure are clever, too clever. But unfortunately, that won't save you today. Lu Fan looked toward the source of the voice and saw someone riding what looked like a mechanical bird, like creature flying out from within the divine bone forest. This person looked rather unkempt, constantly drinking from a wine gourd. On his back was a longsword, which was clearly no ordinary item. However, Lu Fan did not recognize who this person was. The drunkard's face was red from all the drinking, and he quickly flew above Lu Fan's group on his mechanical mount, looking down at them with an upturned smile. Boss Jin is really interesting, even calling upon all of us out for brats like these. Even if they started leveling up from birth, these brats couldn't possibly have undergone their 3rd profession change at their age. We could have just gotten the God Slayer Legion to kill these 2nd profession brats and be done with it. Just as he finished speaking, another voice immediately came from elsewhere. "Second brother, you can't underestimate them!" In mid-air, a figure approached, leaving a trail of white energy waves. This new figure was an elderly woman, appearing to be in her 50s. Although her hair was white and her face wrinkled, her figure was like that of a young girl. She came riding an arrow, formed from condensed air. After reaching Lu Fan's location, the arrow dissipated in mid-air. The elderly woman did a flip in the air, landing steadily, and took the longbow from her back. Holding it, she smiled at the drunkard. Boss Jin said that though this person's level isn't high, but he is strong, and he has some unusual pet dragons. Moreover, I heard he even has a skill that allows him to enslave an old friend of ours, a demon general. Since Boss Jin has asked all of us to come together to kill him, he must have his reasons. We can't afford to be careless. Lu Fan looked at the elderly woman and recognized the skill she had just used was Wind Arrow Mastery. This was a skill that could only be mastered by an archer who changed to ranger for their second profession and then became a great wind walker after their fourth profession change. In other words, this person in front of them was actually a fourth profession change player. The elderly woman was not the last one to come, though. The ground began to violently shake as if an earthquake was occurring. Everyone could feel that this trembling was not random, but rather due to the footsteps of a massive being charging toward them. The ground began to crack, and looking toward the direction of the cracks, Lu Fan's group saw a person bathed in surging bloody aura, covering dozens of meters with each step as he charged toward them. At the same time, he carried an enormous battle axe on his shoulder. The axe was clearly incredibly heavy, its blade covered in bloodstains from countless battles. Finally, he leaped high and landed firmly on the ground, steadily planting his shoulder, carried battle axe into the earth with a loud thud. The ground shook from his series of actions. Han Ki, being a non-combat specialized profession player, nearly lost her balance. Fortunately, Tao Xiaoman's helping hand stopped her from falling. The third person to appear retracted his bloody aura, completely ignoring Lu Fan's group, and grinned at the elderly woman. Sister Ren Ying, I think you're being too cautious. What about a demon general? Didn't I split him in half with one axe strike back then? As for dragons, hey! I've long heard that the dragon race in our world has power comparable to divinity, but I've never seen it before. Those are just hearsay. Those's gaze soon fell on Xiao Kui, showing obvious disdain. After all, Xiao Qiu was just a support specialized dragon. She naturally appeared to be less threatening than combat pet dragons like Xiao Ye. This gave this muscular man a rather unimpressed first impression of the dragon race. Still, my luck is good today. To think I'm actually encountering a real-life pure-blood dragon. Not bad at all. Later my axe can have a taste of its dragon blood. I wonder if drinking dragon blood will make me stronger. 3 high-level players had appeared in succession, and all were in the fourth profession. This pressure had already caused great discomfort to Jian Ying and the others, their faces all pale. However, this was not the end. In the clear sky, a massive bolt of lightning suddenly struck down, hitting the ground not far from Lu Fan's group. After the lightning disappeared, a black, robed figure appeared where it had struck, holding a staff made of green wood with a gem at its tip that was flickering with lightning. It was clearly no ordinary item. This person was extremely silent, standing motionless after appearing, unlike the other 3. Seeing him arrive, the drunkard sneered. After so many years, Old Hai is still the same. We've been waiting here for the whole day, and he still hasn't said a single word. Sometimes I really wonder if he's mute. The elderly woman smiled. Hey, Old Hai has always been a man of few words. You know this. Speaking of which, isn't that exactly what Boss Jin likes? Strong, quiet, just does whatever task he asks of him without asking why. The muscular man shook his head, disagreeing. Old Hai is just too boring. Being around him is always so suffocating. The group began chatting casually, none of them truly taking Lu Fan's group seriously. Jian Ying, with her broad knowledge, quickly recognized their identities from their characteristics. These 4 people, they are 4 of Extremist country's 5 national guardians. What are they doing here? Huff, 5 national guardians, the ones who subdued the 9 hell demons. Lu Fan asked. Jian Ying nodded, watching them. Yeah. The first one that came is nicknamed Extremist country's Sword Saint. His profession is the hidden profession, Wandering Sword Saint. He specializes in physical attacks. The second one, the elderly woman, and the fourth one, the black-robed man, don't have hidden professions. They have regular fourth professions, Great Wind Walker and Lightning Mage God. But we can't compare them to ordinary fourth profession players. These two have developed their profession characteristics to the extreme, making them even stronger than some hidden profession players. As for the third one that came, the muscular man, he has a hidden profession called Hellblood Axe. His profession characteristics supposedly allows him to use various bloods to nurture his bounded weapon, that axe. This gives him an extremely high potential for further growth. After a pause, Jan Ying frowned and said, "Besides them, there's one more among the 5 national guardians. He is the strongest one Extremistis country's ruler, Jin Zexi. He has a hidden profession called Abyss Parasite Master. If he's here too, then all 5 national guardians have truly assembled." "He's been here all along." Lu Fan coldly smiled, looking toward an empty space. Lu Fan had already sensed the presence of the 5 national guardians after realizing that something was wrong. Even though Jin Zexi had hid pretty well, he still could not escape Lu Fan's black dragon perception. Sure enough, after Lu Fan mentioned Jin Zexi was here, a transport array supported by tentacles suddenly appeared in the empty space before everyone, and Jin Zexi walked out before it closed. Moreover, tentacles burst from the ground behind Lu Fan's group, firmly wrapping around the dungeon instance entrance, giving them no chance to escape. "You've finally come out. I've been waiting for you for such a long time." Jin Zexi spoke without much inflection. However, Lu Fan could hear the coldness in his words. His killing intent was clear and overt. Besides this, there was the oppressive pressure emanating from other 5 national guardians. This pressure made even powerful players like Jian Ying tremble uncontrollably, breaking into cold sweat. If even Jian Ying was like this, those weaker than her Qin Chu, Tao Xiaoman, and Han Ke were even worse off. Of course, there was one exception, Lu Fan. Lu Fan had been patiently watching the 5 national guardians emerge one by one. Acting like what they expected of him, they saw his group as fish on a chopping block. His goal was to catch all 5 of them in one net. He refused to allow a single one of them to escape. Lu Fan's anger towards these people had exceeded his first meeting with Jin Zhu. After all, just next to him were the corpses of over 40 people. They have been cruelly killed by these savages. Even if he did not know them, they were still people who supported him and were sent to protect him. How could he possibly let this go? Lu Fan needed to make them pay blood for blood? So what if they were the 5 national guardians? They were just guards protecting this land from the weak 9 hell demons. Thinking of this, Lu Fan gave a cold smile and did something puzzling. He put away his flaming meteor sword. This action confused both sides. The axe-wielding burly man, who was the most arrogant upon seeing Lu Fan put away his weapon, was briefly stunned before bursting into laughter. What? Giving up all resistance already? Though I have to say that it could be expected. We are, after all, famous as the 5 national guardians. It is natural for youngsters like you to be scared upon seeing us, but not even having the courage to resist. That is truly disappointing. If I'd known we were dealing with such cowards, I definitely wouldn't have bothered traveling so far to this godforsaken place.
What are you talking about?
The old woman rebuked while stroking her bowstring. If you hadn't come, wouldn't the dragon blood go to waste? In my opinion, after your battle axe absorbs dragon blood, its attributes will surely undergo earth-shattering changes. The burly man heartily laughed, saying, "You have a point. Maybe my power will even surpass Boss Jin's because of this." The drunkard took a swig of wine, equally spirited. "Looks like today, we 5 national guardians will gain another honor to our name. We will become the first dragon slayers in history. In future textbooks about us 5, there will be another glorious chapter." With that, all 3 of them laughed together. Their laughter irritated Lu Fan. "Shut up, all of you!" Lu Fan's single sentence silenced everyone present. The 5 National Guardians had not expected that at this point, Lu Fan would not beg for mercy, but instead remain so domineering. Dead men sure talk a lot. Lu Fan sneered, then completely ignored the others, focusing only on Jin Zexi. You dare kill my people, even teachers from my university. Fine then. I'll make you watch as I slaughter 10,000 of your people. Jin Zexi made no movement, but his killing intent became several times stronger than before. For someone about to die, I really don't know where you get the courage to say such things from. Jin Zexi gave a cold laugh, then extended his hand in a gesture for everyone to attack. The 5 National Guardians understood and immediately moved to attack. Slaughter 10,000 of our people. What a joke! Let me split you apart with my axe first. The burly man moved the fastest, stomping the ground forcefully and shooting forward like a cannonball. At the same time, streams of blood ki erupted from his pores, making him appear like a blood demon from hell. The pressure from him suddenly increased 100-fold. It seemed like his profession characteristics had some similarities with Andre, leaning towards the war god branch of warriors. He had both powerful enhancement-type buffs and charging skill, ones with unstoppable momentum. Such a powerful profession, combined with him being a 4th profession player, made this burly man unimaginably domineering. Facing him, even Tao Xiaoman could not hold her weapon steady. However, though his approach was fierce, Lu Fan never even glanced at him. Xiao Ku, Divine Tree of Life Form. At Lu Fan's command, Xiao Kui immediately took root in the ground, her body transforming, gradually expanding her frame to form a crystal-clear jade tree. Following this, waves of life pulse rippled out from Xiao Ku's body, washing over Jian Ying and the others. It made them feel extremely comfortable. They soon realized they had been covered in Xiao Kui's buffs, and stacked twice. Jian Ying had seen Xiao Ku's divine tree of life form before, so she was fine. But for Tao Xiaoman, Chun Qiu, and Han Kei, this was their first time being washed over by her life pulse in this form, so they were naturally all amazed. As for the burly man's oppressive pressure, it no longer felt as terrifying. Seeing Xiao Ku transform into a tree, the burly man was surprised, but he became even more interested in killing this dragon. Blood prison axe! The burly man roared as he leaped, raising his giant battle axe high. Instantly, the blood ki erupting from his body became even more intense, even producing a huge howling sound like a demon's roar. The blood ki concentrated on his giant axe as he brought it down. The blood chew moving across the axe head formed into a ferocious demon head with fanged jaws biting toward Lu Fan's group. It was an extraordinary strike. Though they claimed to look down on Lu Fan as just a 2nd profession player, even as 4th profession players, once the 5 National Guardians moved, they did not hold back. They were not going to give Lu Fan a chance to escape, not even if the great goddess of fortune wished to save him. However, at this moment, a dazzling golden light suddenly bloomed from Xiao Ku's body. A not too large protective barrier suddenly rose, protecting Lu Fan and the others inside. The burly man saw this but paid it no heed. A defensive skill. What a joke. Unless it is holy light protection or some other invulnerability skill, no defensive skill will be able to protect you from me. His axe still fell with unstoppable momentum, violently striking Xiao Ku's eternal guardian. But in the next second, something happened that shocked the 5 National Guardians. When the burly man's axe struck the eternal guardian, it merely caused ripples to spread. Far from being shattered, there was not even a crack. Instead, the attack power of his skill was reflected back, sending him flying. The burly man flew back hundreds of meters before finally stopping, his giant axe trembling. The rebounding force had clearly affected him badly. How is this possible? The burly man stared, wide-eyed. He was barely able to believe what just happened. After all, how could a 2nd profession player block his full power strike? How could they have such an overpowered skill? Not just the burly man, but the other 5 National Guardians were also stunned. However, this small incident did not cause them to panic. After all, even if Lu Fan's group had such a powerful defensive skill, they were just turtles with hard shells. The burly man was furious with embarrassment. Seeing the others react with mocking looks, he irritably chided.
Don't just stand there and watch!
Attack together.
Eat!
The drunkard gave a cold laugh and extended his hand. The sword on his back seemed to have a mind of its own as it flew into his hand. This sword was extraordinary. Its blade gleamed with white light. It was even a rare light sword. Light swords not only had low drop rates but also required special hidden professions to use, so few had seen them. It was clear the wandering sword saint profession utilizes light swords. The drunkard stood up from his mechanical bird. With the glow from the sword in his hand getting more intense, he slashed repeatedly with his light sword, each strike sending purple sword light flying through the air toward Lu Fan's group. The old woman did not stay idle either, drawing her bow and shooting arrows wrapped in wind elemental, which each carried considerable power. At the same time, the silent black-robed man also acted. He waved his staff to gather dark clouds above Lu Fan's group, sending down bolt after bolt of lightning. The three attacked together, their powerful skills continuously striking Eternal Guardian. Inside Eternal Guardian, Jian Ying and the others watched on nervously, afraid the outside attacks might shatter the protective barrier. Only Lu Fan remained calm. He had complete confidence in Xiao Ku's skill, knowing that even though the other party was powerful fourth profession players, they absolutely would not be able to break through this defense skill further enhanced by Xiao Ku's buffs. Jian Ying, take care of Auntie and the others, Lu Fan said without looking back as he walked toward the outside, ignoring the chaotic bombardment. Hearing this, Jian Ying frowned. Lu Fan, what are you going to do? I'm going to personally kill them. As Lu Fan spoke, golden light began appearing around him. This golden light was not radiating from the surface of his skin, but rather seeping out from within, beneath his skin. It was as though Lu Fan's blood had turned completely golden, possessing some special power. At the same time, Lu Fan's body began expanding, scales growing from his skin, his form transforming toward that of a giant dragon. This was the Golden Dragon King bloodline release! For Jin Zexi and his group, Lu Fan felt that personally tearing them apart would be more satisfying. However, Lu Fan knew that they were Extremist country's top players. In other words, they were among the strongest, even amongst fourth profession players. Even with Golden Dragon King bloodline release, Lu Fan could not face all 5 of them head-on. So, calling for help was necessary. A summoning array lit up beside Lu Fan, and one of the fallen corpse Holy Dragon Kings emerged, opening his puppet sub, space outside of Eternal Guardian. Following this, monster after monster walked out. Not many in number, just 9. But these 9 were old friends of the 5 National Guardians. Naturally, they were the 9 Hell Demons! The appearance of the 9 Hell Demons greatly shocked the 5 National Guardians. The 3 who had been attacking the Eternal Guardian all stopped. They now faced the 9 Hell Demons with great wariness. What's going on? The drunkard instantly sobered up, gripping his light sword. He questioned, How can this brat summon the 9 Hell Demons? They had fought the 9 Hell Demons before and knew of their terrifying power. Though they had indeed killed the 9 Hell Demons back then, that was only because the Hell Demons were scattered, and they could hunt them down one by one. That was how they had finally subdued the 9 Hell Demons. But now, all the 9 Hell Demons were here together. So, that advantage was completely lost. The pressure on the 5 National Guardians was immense. Even Jin Zexi was shocked. He knew Lu Fan had enslaved a demon general, and had guessed Lu Fan might have enslaved the diabolical Hell Demon. But he never imagined Lu Fan had all 9 Hell Demons! Even he felt tremendous pressure from the 9 Hell Demons that had just appeared, let alone his other 4 teammates. This sudden development stripped away the 5 National Guardians' earlier composure. However, the burly man was the first to react, coldly snorting. All show and no substance!
I don't believe a second profession player can really enslave the 9 hell demons. They must be imitations. Watch me split them all in half with one axe strike. With that, he raised his axe and charged forward. His movement drew the attention of the diabolical hell demon. The diabolical hell demon's form dimmed as it activated its ghost walk skill. Then, it teleported in front of the burly man, bringing its fingers made of blades down from above. The burly man's pupils contracted as he raised his giant axe to clash head-on with the diabolical hell demon. Boom! It was a thunderous crash. The diabolical hell demon did not move a centimeter, while the burly man was forced back several steps. The burly man was shocked, exclaiming, "Something's wrong. How can these 9 hell demons be as powerful as the originals?" "How is this possible?" The others were also greatly alarmed. Sensing something was amiss. They could handle 1 or 2 9 hell demons, but how could they fight all 9 at once? Jin Zaixi's voice grew heavy as he slowly said, "No wonder you could show such power in the National Trial's secret realm. You truly have some ability. Even so, everyone, we need not fear him. Even if he summons all 9 hell demons, we need not be afraid. We've killed them before, and now that they've appeared again, we just need to kill them again." While the 9 hell demons are fearsome, many years have passed. Are we not much stronger than before? Even if the 9 hell demons join forces, what is there to fear? Jin Zaixi's words gave the 5 National Guardians some of their confidence back. After all, Jin Zeixi was just stating facts. These were monsters they had killed before. What could 9 of them combined do? They themselves had truly grown stronger over the years. If these enemies got resurrected, they would just need to kill them again! However, was it really that simple? As an emerald green light shone from within the Eternal Guardian, it illuminated the 9 hell demons. Moments later, beside each 9 hell demon appeared 2 mirror image projections identical to the original, so lifelike that real and fake could not be distinguished. The 9 hell demons had instantly become 27 hell demons! This sight made the 5 National Guardians' eyes nearly pop out of their heads. The 9 hell demons were already like a nightmare to them. Now, it was far worse. The 9 hell demons had become 27 hell demons. How were they going to fight against this? Are they clones? Jin Zeixi remained calm as he tore off his cloak, his body beneath expanding into a monster over 10 meters tall. Jin Zeixi now resembled a humanoid octopus, with a giant eyeball on his enormous head, while his lower body consisted of countless tentacles of varying thickness supporting his frame. His body was covered in sticky mucus, though its special properties remained unknown. From Jin Zaixi's appearance, it was clear he did not have a mage-type profession, but rather a transformation type like druid. The druid profession was rare in Dragon Country, but in Western countries, it was as common as any other profession. The profession characteristic was the ability to transform, enhancing one's attributes and giving the player power exceeding that of monsters at the same level. Jin Zaixi's attributes had surged dramatically, and his countless tentacles provided diverse methods of attack. Additionally, after losing his human form, his remaining eye gleamed strangely as it scanned the 27 hell demons present. This seemed like a skill similar to appraisal, allowing him to easily determine their original attributes. As expected, they're all clones. Their attributes are only a third that of the original. Though they look intimidating, their power is far inferior to the original, Jin Zeixi loudly announced, allowing the other 5 National Guardians to relax a little. As long as each hell demon did not possess the original's full power, the situation was still manageable. Though reduced by 2/3, their attributes were still formidable. Still, for players like them, dealing with hell demons at a third of their strength was not too problematic. Did you think this was it? Lu Fan had more surprises in store for them. The fallen corpse Holy Dragon King's aura-type skill, Holy Light Radiance, now shone upon all hell demons, while Xiao Q's life pulse continuously flowed, providing them with buffs,
Each Hell Demon soon gained doubly stacked Spring of Life, along with Jade Shield and Jade Blessing. Under Jin Zexie's watch, all Hell Demons' attributes rose to terrifying levels, matching that of the original. More terrifying was that these were just the clone's attributes. The original Hell Demons, after receiving a series of attribute enhancement, had attributes far exceeding their peak, 2 to 3 times stronger than when they wreaked havoc in Extremist's country, with all of Xiao Ku's skills enhancing them. Just 2 of these Hell Demons were enough to completely overwhelm the 5 National Guardians. Yet, here, there were 9 Hell Demons of equal strength, plus 18 clones matching the original. Worse, behind them Xiao Ku was continuously buffing all the Hell Demons! The 5 National Guardians knew that to have any chance of victory in this battle, they needed to eliminate the support specialized pet dragon first. However, their opponent had transformed into a giant jade tree, maintaining an almost unbreakable shield while recklessly casting skills. This was something they could not do anything about. It was truly a death trap. Never mind the others, even Jin Zexie in his battle. Ready form felt his scalp tingling. He was considering whether to create a transport array. He wanted to immediately leave. The 9 Hell Demons, originally killed by the 5 National Guardians, still harbored deep resentment despite becoming fallen corpse puppets. Now that Lu Fan had buffed them and given them the order to attack, how could the Hell Demons and their clones remain still? Instantly, the 27 Hell Demons charged at the 5 National Guardians. Basically, each of the 5 National Guardians had to face 5 or 6 Hell Demons encircling them. Back then, it took all 5 of them to defeat just 1 Hell Demon. But now, the tables have turned. They had at least 5 Hell Demons against each of them. This made the 5 National Guardians suffer greatly. Even though their strength had improved significantly since then, they still could not possibly be a match against 5 level 85 epic grade bosses at once. Moreover, if one of them was an original, that was even more terrifying. A single strike from the original was something none of the 5 National Guardians could block. Originally, the 5 National Guardians saw Lu Fan as a lamb for slaughter, but now the roles of hunter and prey had completely reversed. Too busy trying to survive, the 5 National Guardians did not even notice that space around them began to distort around Xiao Ku. The surroundings gradually transformed into a sea of clouds with peaks piercing through. Roar! Accompanied by a clear, resonant dragon roar. A golden glowing dragon, as if cast from flowing gold, flew out from Eternal Guardian. It was Lu Fan, transformed into the Golden Dragon King Ultimate Shield. Lu Fan had fully activated his transformation skill, becoming the Golden Dragon King. Naturally, the feeling was extraordinary. He could feel power coursing through his body as his skin felt like the world's hardest metal. It gave him the confidence to withstand any attack. At just level 2 Golden Dragon King Bloodline release, it provided Lu Fan with 4K fuss in each of his strength, agility, and mana attributes, and 16K sus in his endurance attribute. At the same time, Lu Fan did not hesitate to activate the belt's additional skill, Golden Dragon King's Shield, increasing his 3 attributes by 40% and his endurance attribute by 100%. The Dragon Hunter's Will equipment set skills and attributes alone gave Lu Fan 32K sus endurance. The current Lu Fan was completely impenetrable, absolutely unbreakable. What if these incredible attributes were combined with Xiao Ku's skill enhancements? Xiao Ku's skill effects on Lu Fan had double the effectiveness. Their effects were far more terrifying than when applied on the Hell Demons. Just in terms of his endurance attribute, with all skills stacked together, Lu Fan broke 150K. That's not 15K, but 150K! Never mind the 5 National Guardians. Even if one combined all 5 of their attributes together, 115K in endurance was an unreachable number for them. Unless they used a divine skill, they could not possibly break through Lu Fan's defense. Moreover, Lu Fan was being refreshed with over 40 jade shields every second. Even for divine skills, could it break through all of his jade shield? Even if it could, he still had his golden form. With that activated, Lu Fan was basically invincible. Well, For 3 minutes, but he would still be invincible nevertheless. Never mind the 5 National Guardians. Even if there were 55 National Guardians, Lu Fan would dare to go and cut off their hands.